Okay, everyone, it's 11:03, so we're going to get started so we don't keep you too long. Hi, I'm Julie with Aged. I'm the Director of Marketing here. This is our first webinar back from summer break, so thank you for joining us. It looks like we have a full house today. I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. This is a 1-hour webinar. We have CEs for guardians, CLEs for attorneys. We also have a general certificate that will work for the APD waiver support coordinators, and it may work for other disciplines. So if you get a general certificate, please try to submit it for another discipline. It may or may not work. I wanted to give you a heads up that the next webinar is on October 11th, which is a Wednesday at 11 a.m. It will be with John Mendelson, and he's talking about life settlements. And also, we have a very full house today, so we're going to ask everybody to hold their questions and answers until the end, and then we will open it up for questions and answers. I wanted to introduce our guest speaker today. His name is Mitchell Gordon. He is the president of Gordon Insurance of Orlando. He has been a certified independent licensed insurance broker and agent for over 25 years. He is appointed with most of the major health companies, and he specializes in Medicare and Medicaid education. So Mitchell, would you like to take it away?
Thank you very much. I'm going to go into Medicare and all the parts that work with it, A, B, C, and D, the penalties, the advantage plans and supplements, the election periods. I'm going to go quickly through just basic Medicare because it's pretty simple and it'll give me more time to do all the other parts. Medicare has 4 parts, A, B, C, and D. A just refers to hospitalization. B refers to outpatient, MRIs, a broken arm, just doctor visits, and outpatient hospital. C are the Medicare Advantage plans, which incorporates A, B, and D. D are the prescription plans. Medicare does not cover that. It's always done by a private company, and you either have it included in your Part C, which I'll get into, or you'll buy one. Now, Medicare Part A, as I said, is just for hospitalization. And I'll give you the numbers very quickly. It's a $1,600 deductible per benefit period, and that covers you for the first 60 days. From day 61 through 90, it hits $400 a day. And day 91 through 150, it hits $800 a day. And while very few people ever stay in the hospital that long, it can get very expensive, which is why it helps to get an advantage plan. Part B is, like I said, outpatient, doctor visits. That's a 20% copay. The Part B deductible is $226. So once you've paid that, whether it's to one doctor or 10 doctors, $22 each, you have paid your deductible for the year, and then you pay 20% for everything with no ceiling. So if you have a $50,000 bill, you owe $10,000. Again, that's why they have the Advantage plans. I've only come across one person out of about 1,000 that just wanted to keep their basic Medicare, except for a few minor exceptions. There is no reason not to get an Advantage plan. Advantage plans by law have to be as good as or better than Medicare. They always have some extras. Some of the extras are worthwhile, some of them are not. And I explain that when I go over that with my clientele. There's a lot of rules and regulations that I'm going to hit on as we go along. In order for me to talk to someone, I must have the thing called scope of appointment signed. It gives me permission to speak to them. I will not speak to them without it. They must sign it and sometimes initial a certain spot that tells me what I'm going to speak about. If I have one signed for an Advantage plan and they want to speak about a prescription plan, I have to have them sign another one. I cannot talk about anything else except for what's included in that specific scope of appointment. If I'm sitting in the kitchen with someone, a husband or a wife, and their spouse comes in, I must get the spouse to sign a scope of appointment also if they want to talk about themselves. I cannot talk to anybody without it. And you have to keep that for 10 years. whether the people move out of the state, out of the country, pass away, 10 years, that paperwork has to be saved by either myself or a broker, okay? Part A, you get automatically when you turn 65. I don't know that everybody always gets sent a card, but I always teach them how to sign up for it. And Part B, if you don't get Part B when you turn 65, you get penalized 10% a year. So if you didn't have Part B for 10 years, you'd be penalized 100%. And it doesn't stop at 100%, it just keeps going. And Part B this year is $164.90 a month. When I teach people not to get Part B, when they won't be penalized, is if they have what's called creditable coverage. So anyone that has a major medical plan or a plan through an employer, almost 95% of the time, if not more, they are creditable coverage. So you do not want to get your Part B unless the company forces you to. You do not need it, so then you're going to save almost $2,000 a year in payments because you're not really using it. You've already got insurance. So then when you turn 70, 75, and all of a sudden, it doesn't make a difference if you don't quit your job, but if you leave the insurance, that's when you get your Part B. And I'll tell you in a little while why you don't want to get it, because there's specific things that help you if you do not get Part B if you are already covered. Part D is prescription plan. Again, it's included in a lot of the Advantage plans. But if you get it separately, you pay up a premium. The premium can be anywhere from $11 up to $120, $30 and more. You do not need to pay those high prices. It's not necessary. They don't give you anything special for having an expensive Part D. And if you don't get Part D when you're qualified, they penalize you 1% a month, which comes out to be about right now somewhere around $5 a month. So if you don't have it for 5 years, whatever your premium is, you're going to pay $25 more a month forever. It doesn't end. The penalty is there forever. Now, Medicare Advantage plans. Advantage plans will have either A and B or A, B, and D. Unless I have a specific reason, like with someone that's getting VA benefits and uses their prescription plan, I always use one that has A, B, and D. So it's completely covered. It takes care of everything. Advantage plans, the advantage to have an Advantage plan is, number one, they're low cost. There's no premium. I don't use any with premiums. Some of the ones in Florida are getting premiums. A lot of other states will have a premium. But we have, most of our plans here do not have premiums. So you have no premium. You have low copays. It could be anywhere from $25 a day in the hospital for 3 days, which is unbelievable, to $175 a day in the hospital for 6 days. And then after that, up to a year, it's a zero copay. And then a lot of them will have zero copay for your primary, a very low copay for your specialist. It could be anywhere from $5 to $15. An MRI might only be $75 to $110. So you're talking about very low copays. So you're talking about very economically feasible and good for everybody. The disadvantage to Advantage plans are, number one, they're networked. Even if you have a PPO, you still have a network, and some are large and some are small. You do need a referral if you have an HMO. You do not need a referral with a PPO. But if you trust your doctor and you have a good primary care doctor, that's usually not a problem. Okay. Now, some companies have large networks that go across the country. And if a doctor is in their network, no matter where they are, I don't care if it's Oklahoma, California, they're in your network. Otherwise, when you go out of your area, you can only get emergency service, and you got to come home for follow-up and just everyday service. But again, there's a plan for everybody. If people don't have a lot of money and they need to keep the cost down very low, they can get a plan. Now, it might only have 2 or 3 doctors in a county area, say for cardiology. It's a very important doctor. But it's not the amount of doctors that's important to them. What's important for them is the cost. Then there's people who They don't mind a couple extra dollars, but they want a large network. They want 40, 50 doctors' choice of a cardiologist, a dermatologist. So they'll go for a different plan. That's why there are so many plans out there. As she said, I'm appointed with 12 different companies, and each one has 5 or 6 different plans in each county. By the way, each plan is specific to a county. The plans for Orange County usually include Orange, Seminole, and Osceola. There's a lot of plans in Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough that and Hernando are good for 15 counties. But there's some plans that, like for Polk County has a lot of plans that are only specific to Polk. So if you move from Polk to Seminole, even if you get the exact same coverage, you must change your plan, even if you're within the same company. And that's not too much of a problem. It's very easy to do. So again, the Advantage plans, and 80% of my clients are on Advantage plans. I've had clients get heart transplants on Advantage plans. So they do work very well. And what I teach people is you need to be politely pushy, very proactive in any insurance situation. If your primary care doctor refers you to a specialist that you particularly don't know or don't want, you can go to him and say, I want to go to this other specialist. It's in your network. You have the right to do that. And if you have a good relationship with your doctor, that's not usually a problem. Now, supplements, Medicare supplements are a whole different animal. A supplement, an Advantage plan, by the way, when you go to the doctor, you leave your Medicare card home. It's a replacement for Medicare. The government is paying that company to take care of you and your health situation. So you do not need your Medicare plan. Medicare is not paying for anything anymore. Only the Advantage plan company, no matter which company it is, Humana, United, Aetna, any one of those companies. When you have a supplement, the supplement is just what it says. It supplements Medicare. So Medicare pays the first 80%, and the supplement pays the second 20%. It's considered a secondary. So when you go to the doctor, you bring your Medicare card, that's your primary, and you bring your supplement card, that's your secondary. And I warn my clients not to use the word supplement. It confuses the doctor's office. When I signed my wife up, her doctor said, we don't take that. And the way it works with supplements is there are no networks. If the doctor accepts Medicare, the company will pay them. So when a doctor looks it up, they might look up under their Advantage plan contracts and not see it. But as long as Medicare pays the bill, the supplement will pay the bill no matter what company it is. Also, there are 10 supplements, and they're lettered, so it gets confusing. They're A, B, C, no more F. There's G, there's N. And I don't use any of the ABCs because you're paying a premium for the supplement. They all have premiums, but they don't cover everything. But the one I use the most is the G, because it covers everything. And I'm going to explain what that means when I say everything. Okay. All same lettered supplements by law are the same. In other words, every A is exactly the same, whether you go to United, Humana, or Harry's Insurance Company. They all cover you the same medically. The only difference is how they charge you. So every G is the same. Every place you go, it's going to be the same. So when you get a supplement, the only thing you need to think about is price and service. I use certain companies that I have never had a complaint in 12 years of using a certain company. I don't talk about specific companies unless when the questions start, you can ask, I guess, because this is considered more of an educational, so I don't get into specific plans. Again, I'm very regulated when it comes to that. So I use a company that has great service and basically within $5 the lowest price. And they might have one type of plan that I use, and then another company might have a lower price and great service for a different type of plan. Okay, so the advantage to a supplement is It covers everything. And the reason I say everything is the one I use is their doctors are allowed to charge 15% more than Medicare allows. And as I, again, teach my clients, on a $100 bill, that's pretty much pocket change, $15. On a $1,000 bill, it's affordable. But on a $30,000, $50,000, $80,000 bill, 15% gets to be a lot. Some of the plan I use specifically pays for that. So the advantage to supplements are you can use them anywhere in the country. So you don't have a choice of 45, 50, 60 cardiologists. You now have a choice of maybe 5 or 10,000 cardiologists. Anybody that takes Medicare, you can go anywhere you want. If you need a new knee and the best guy's in Idaho and he takes Medicare, you can go. It's going to get paid for. Okay. Again, I always talk about the combination of Medicare and the supplement, paying the 100%, 80% for Medicare, 20% for the supplement. They did away with one of the supplements that had no deductible. So now there is a deductible. It's $226. Once you've paid that, you're done paying for all your procedures, regardless of what it is. There is no ceiling on how much it pays, whether it's $50,000 or $5 million. You're covered completely between Medicare and the supplement. The only disadvantages that I see are the fact that supplements have a premium, and they also do not have prescription plans. So you have to buy a prescription plan. But again, you can get them as cheap as $11. I break up the prescription plans, Part D, into 3 categories: $11 to about $25, $30, $30 to about $50, and anything above $50. It's not because that they have more drugs that they're more expensive. It's just the way they put the plan together. Most of my clients are on the cheaper ones because the premium's cheaper and the drugs are basically about the same price. They do vary a little bit from company to company and plan to plan, but simple arithmetic. If you get an expensive Part D, and let's say it's costing you $80 a month rather than $20, you're paying $60 a month more. So you're paying $720 more. The only advantage is you're saving the $500 deductible. So you're spending $700 to save $500. So it's basically worthless to get it. I don't even use it. I haven't used it at all. Now, when it comes to Advantage plans, you have guarantee issue forever. There are no medical questions whatsoever. So you can be 65 or 165. You can tell me, Mitchell, I was told I need a heart transplant in 3 weeks. Mitchell, I'm going to pass away in 6 months or 3 weeks. It doesn't make a difference. There are no questions for medical. It's guaranteed acceptance. But with supplements, except for a few minor exceptions, which I haven't even come across, I always say that just to cover myself, is there is guaranteed acceptance 2 times in your life: when you turn 65 and when you get your Part B. After that, like let's say you're 70 years old and you had an Advantage plan and you decide, I want to switch to a supplement, they can underwrite you, ask you medical questions, and for any reason that they want, they do not have to take you. In the guarantee issue period, you are not asked any medical questions again whatsoever. And that's why I teach people, do not take Part B if you don't have to when you turn 65, if you are covered with another plan that's creditable coverage. And you can always call up whoever takes care of your insurance, your HR company division, and make sure it's creditably covered. Because that way, when you do turn 70, 75, or 80, and you want to go into you leave your company and you're not going to be covered anymore, and you need to go into the Medicare system, no matter what your medical situation is, you will have guarantee issue. The other time you have guarantee issue is if you do leave a Medicare plan, insurance plan, excuse me, an insurance plan that you've had through your company. So it's against the law for me to use the word best. So I use the word comprehensive. Supplements to me are the most comprehensive plan that you can get. I'm not sure if places like the Mayo Clinic or the Cleveland Clinic take Advantage plans, but I know they take Medicare, so they take supplements. And I've had people go there and have an $800,000 operation that actually they needed to save their life, and they didn't pay a penny at the time, and now they would only pay $226. So that's the advantage for supplements. Give me a moment just to look over some notes. Okay, so you have election periods. The election period's coming up. It's October 15th to December 7th. That's when you can sign up, and you can sign up as many times as you want. And then December 8th, when you wake up, whatever plan you got, that's what you have. And then in their wisdom, about 2 years ago or so, they decided, just in case people made a decision and they realized it was the wrong one, they're going to let you make one change from January 1st to March 31st. That's called open election period. But it's only limited to certain types of plans. You can't, if you have an Advantage plan, you can switch it to another Advantage plan. But there are certain types of, if you just have a Part D and want to go to an Advantage plan, that won't work. Okay. There's also life changes. If you move out of your service area, like if you have a plan that's good for Orange, Seminole, and Osceola, and you move from Orange to Seminole, you don't have an election period to change. You're going to stay with that same plan. But if you move to Polk County, you move to Hillsborough, you move out of state, you can change your plan. You have a certain amount of days to do that, to be able to change your plan. Also, if you have Medicaid, you can change your plan one time every quarter for the first 3 quarters. So you can make a change January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. They don't let you do it the last 3 months of the year. If you have a chronic condition, they consider like COPD, diabetes. You can change your plan for that, but you have to go into a specific chronic plan specifically suited to that condition. And every company has that, so you can do that. But there's also an election period that I use a lot because I specialize with assisted living facilities. And a lot of people don't know about it. The agents don't know about it either. I don't know why. It's called Open Election Period Institution, OEPI. If you have a client or someone in that you have to help out and they live in an assisted living facility, they have dementia or they have a problem where they can't take care of themselves, they can switch anytime the entire year. Not more than once a month, but you can switch them. And then, of course, if they move or something, you switch them again. But if they just live in a place and they have the wrong plan, let's say they moved into a new facility in the same county, but now they have different doctors, and the doctors don't take the plan they have, I can change them anytime. It's a very simple operation, only takes like 2 days. All plans start on the 1st of the month. So whether you sign up on the 1st, 2nd, or you start on the 31st, you will start the next month on that day. The biggest advantage to signing up early in the month is you get all your paperwork. Otherwise, you will not. It takes usually 2 weeks to get your paperwork. When you sign for a plan, the sequence is, I take it, I fill it out, I fill out the application, I send it immediately the same day. I have a deadline. I have 24 hours on most, 48 on some. But in general, I have to have that application in within 24 hours of getting it from the client. I usually send it in within an hour. It goes to the insurance company. The insurance company immediately sends it to CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the government. They look it over, they make sure there's no other problems. They send it back to the insurance company saying yes. The insurance company issues it. Then it takes another week to 10 days to get your card. Usually an agent can get your Medicare your member number before your card is issued to you. In case you need to make an appointment, you'll be able to have your number so you can give it to the doctors and they can see you before your card is even given to you. Like I said, because it takes a full 2 weeks from the time we put the application in. You cannot have an Advantage plan and a supplement at the same time. It's basically against the law to do that. The person won't get in trouble, the agent will. And the reason being is if you have a supplement and then all of a sudden you sign up for an Advantage plan, people think it'll help them out to have more than one plan. Once the bill goes to Medicare, Medicare is going to look at it and say, this person has an Advantage plan, we're not paying anything. So if they don't pay, the supplement doesn't pay. So now you're stuck in the Advantage plan, whether you like it or not. And then, of course, you're not going to be able to get out of it until an election period comes up. Again, I am very regulated. I have to record all phone calls and keep that for 10 years. I have to tell people very specific things. I have to let them know I might be compensated if you join this plan. That I don't represent every plan, and this goes for all agents, of course. I don't represent every plan in the state of Florida. And you are not obligated to sign anything. And you can also find more information if you go to Medicare.gov or 1-800-Medicare. And by the way, Medicare is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I love telling my clients, if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're bored, you can call Medicare up and have someone to talk to. And the off hours are the best time to catch them, because then there's not that many people calling up. You're going to get the same service as you would if you called up during regular hours. They're actually pretty good. They're a lot easier to deal with than when you call up the Department of Children and Family Services, DCF. They can put you on hold for a half an hour and then a machine comes on and hangs up on you. There is a very easy way to sign up for Medicaid if you need to sign up. I give that out to people who ask me for it. It's the website. It takes 15 minutes to fill out the application because, again, I said it's very tough to make the phone call because they are very busy. I understand that. So if you do it online, it's much easier, and you usually find out within less than 8 weeks, 4 to 6, 8 weeks. You'll find out if you're accepted. If you get accepted into Medicaid and you have a regular plan, all you got to do is call an agent. They can switch you immediately, and it'll start the first of the following month. Okay. It's very important to make sure that when anyone signs up for any, particularly Advantage plans, you need to know the doctors that they're using, because you got to make sure the doctors are in the same network. So if someone gives you 2 or 3 doctors, usually you can find 1 or 2 plans that will suit them. I've had people give me 8 and 10 doctors, and usually they have to compromise and give up 1 or 2 doctors because they won't be in the plan that they need to have. Most people would rather keep the doctor rather than the plan. Same with prescriptions. Again, you can't ask too many medical questions, by the way. That's against the law. HIPAA laws, very strict. I'll get into that in a moment. So, but you can ask, and I do have to ask for prescriptions so I can check them to make sure they're covered. My wife and I have different prescription plans because one of the plan I have, which is cheaper than hers, doesn't carry one of her prescriptions. So she had to go into a different company and pay a little more money. So you have to make sure they're all covered. When you go into a supplement, I don't worry about the doctors. I just tell the people, make sure your doctor takes Medicare, because there's no networks. You don't have to worry about being in or out of network, but you still have to check to make sure that they're getting the prescription plan, the proper plan. Once in a while, they do have to spend $25, $30 for a plan because the $10, $15 plan doesn't have it. And it's not because it's a cheaper plan, it's just a different plan. One thing I'd like to touch on is, you see all these ads on TV with all the famous football players and actors. It's almost bait and switch to me, because they're telling you things like, oh, you can get back your Social Security payment, the $164, your Part B on your Social Security, which saves you almost $2,000. And that's true. But for most people, it's only for Medicaid people that get the most. Some people only get back $100 a month. And that's just as good. But what they don't tell you on the TV is, if you take what's called the rebate plan or the give back plan, all your copays go higher. If you buy a car without an air conditioner, it's cheaper than buying a car with an air conditioner. I know they all have it nowadays, but that's the example I've been using, because if you get a plan that gives you a rebate, well, they're giving you something back, quite a bit, and they don't have a premium. So how do they get it back? They charge you more for the copays. I have a lady now that's looking for a rebate plan, and I'm gonna compare the plan. The basic plan is $25 a day for the first 3 days. I'm sorry, first 7 days. $25 a day for the first 7 days in the hospital. The rebate plan is $200 a day for the first 7 days. Very big difference. So you need to talk to people and find out if they have certain types of chronic things, or whether it's COPD, or even they're going in for chemo and things like that. If they're going to the hospital more than once a year, or at least a full time, like 5-7 days a year, that eats up most of the rebate. And then everything else they do is more expensive. So for those people, has no value. I very rarely will want to write one of those type of plans up for someone in a facility, because they are going to the hospital more often than everybody else. They are using services more than everybody else. But for some people, it works great because you're getting back, let's say $100. So you got $1,200 in your pocket more than you had before. So if you have $400 or $500 more out of pocket for the year, you've saved $700. So it is worth it. And of course, if things start happening as you get older, the following year, you just drop out of that plan and go back to a regular plan. But you do have to be careful. The reason the compliance is so heavy for us is because of things like that, because of telemarketers. Not that all telemarketers are bad. Some just call up and will switch you. I've had doctors call me up and facilities tell me, Mitchell, they got switched. They don't know how they got switched. Some of them just happen to have a phone in their room, and they have a POA, but the POA doesn't know it happened. And someone fast talked them into switching. My mother-in-law had her full faculties, but she was partially deaf. Someone could call her up and just trick her into switching. And then you lose your doctors. If your doctors aren't, because they don't care. They won't ask you about who your doctors are. They're just going to switch you. Again, that's not all telemarketers that are working for companies, but the ones that are just randomly calling people, which is also against the law. Cold calling is against the law. If I'm walking in the mall and I see you sitting down crying, I don't know what to do about my Medicaid. It's against the law for me to walk up to you, give you my card, and say, I can help you, give me a call. I will not call anybody on the first time. If I'm working with you and you say, oh, my sister needs your help, here's a phone number, I won't even take the phone number. I'd rather lose the client than get in trouble and risk my license. And most of you are all licensed people, so you understand compliance. You have to give my name out to other people, give my phone number, and they have to call me. After that, I'm allowed to call. I can't just drop things off on their car. I can't drop it off at their house. In fact, I just put an ad in a newspaper this week, and I had to have it checked out by at least 3 other people to make sure I didn't write the words wrong. One of my email addresses has to be changed. It's a broker's email address, and it has the word Medicare in it. They're changing the rules, so you can't even put the word Medicare in your email address. They don't want to give anyone the idea that you have any association directly with Medicare. That's another thing I have to say as an agent. I do not work for Medicare. I am not recommended by Medicare. We have to be very careful what we say and what we do. If I tell people something costs $164 and it costs $165, I'm wrong, and I can be cited for that. So I don't do too many marketing seminars anymore. I do educational like this, where I'm just teaching people the whole idea. Also, I like to tell people, I use a lot of examples. Medicare isn't as complicated as people think it is, because you don't have to know the whole Medicare system. Most of you probably work for yourself. If you take someone out to lunch and you charge that off on your taxes, you don't have to know the whole tax code. Well, same with Medicare. You don't have to know what your neighbor has. You just have to know what your Medicare does for you, what your Advantage plan does for you, and they are very basic. When an agent sits down with you, he should be reading directly from the book what the plan is, verbatim, no ad-libbing. So he's telling the client exactly what the coverage is. So when the client calls up and says, Mitchell, they won't do this procedure for me, I can look it up and say, no, that's not covered, and we talked about this. If it is covered, and I'm going to teach you a way to help your clients. There's a golden sentence I use that works every time. I've only had to use it 3-4 times in 8 years. And the way it works is this. If you have a client that has something that they need to have done and that we're sure that it's covered, you call up the company, you ask for customer service, and you just tell them, if you can't fix this for me on this phone call, I'm going to call CMS and see why you couldn't help me and if they can. Because every complaint has to be investigated, whether it's called founded or unfounded. And unfounded would mean you didn't like the color of my tie or the color of my shoes. They still have to investigate. And they get a star rating up to 5 stars. And they get paid higher the more stars they get. And the more complaints they get, the lower the star ratings. And they should be giving you everything they promise because it's in the book. Now, the other thing is, on the other side is, if Medicare does not approve the procedure, they're not allowed to do it. I have had clients have their company approve a procedure and Medicare said, no, this is not allowed. So the company wasn't even allowed to do it. Medicare controls all of it. Okay. What else there is for here? As far as basics, that's basically it for the coverages. It doesn't get much more complicated than that because once we know what you want, when someone comes to me and they don't know anything, I pretty much tell them everything I told you today. And I let them know, like when it comes to a supplement, supplements right now, it's the age 65 in this area here, Central Florida. Let's just say it's within 10, plus or minus $10, it's $190 to $200. So if it's not in your budget, I always tell people, you don't buy what you can't afford. If it's not in your budget, you don't want to, you don't need to consider it. So let's stick with the Advantage plans. But if it's in your budget, it might be something you want to consider. And then once you've decided which way you want to go, then that's all we have to look at. If you want to look at Advantage plans, we only have to look at Advantage plans. If you want to get a rebate, we're only going to look at rebate plans. If you got Medicaid, I'm going to look at a dual Medicare Medicaid plan, which brings me to something else I want to teach you. Every company has a dual plan. I'm only talking about medical coverage. I'm not talking about a facility helping pay for the facility. Medicaid has programs to help pay for the facility. I only deal with the medical portion. So if a company has, now there are at least 5 different levels of Medicaid in the state of Florida. People don't realize that. And they're labeled QMB, QMB plus, SLMB, SLMB plus, QI1. You don't have to know what any of those mean. Once you find out what you've got, you tell the agent can call up the insurance company and they'll tell them what you qualify for. It's that simple. They can get it directly from the insurance company. But here's what you got to watch out for. If you have someone that's partial Medicaid, and I have one company that I really love using, but they only have a full Medicaid, Medicare dual plan. Well, then that doesn't work for that partial Medicaid person because now he's going to get hit with what's called share of cost. He's going to have to pay for some of the services. But if I put him into a different company that's got a partial Medicaid, Medicare dual plan, he'll get the same benefits. It's just that the government wants the companies to have different plans for different levels. And he'll get the same 0 copays and extra benefits that are really good. But that's the one that you want to put them on. So you always have to pay attention to little things. And I don't think this is for a guardian doesn't have to know it, an administrator doesn't have to know it, an attorney doesn't have to know it, an agent has to know it. And that's why we all have our specialty. I don't do anything legal. I tell people to go see someone. When it comes to pool trust, it's either an attorney or agent. I give them the basic information and then tell them call agent, and they'll tell you everything you need to know. The phone call doesn't cost anything, obligation to sign up. So every one of us has a specialty, and that's what we stick with, and that's where we we can lean people into that. With Medicaid, and here's another thing to know about Medicaid and facilities. There is no health plan, whether you're under 65 or have Medicare over 65. No health plan pays for long-term care. You either have long-term care insurance, some type of other financial instrument, life insurance, annuity, whatever it is, or Medicaid has a plan. If you have Medicaid and you qualify, they will help pay for your facility, partially. But you can have a separate company do the medical and another company do the facility. In fact, all my clients have a separate company. And the reason is, there's one company that, one or two companies that do a lot of them, the facility. But those companies are not accepted by the doctors that visit that facility. So they have to have a different company. And then a lot of the facilities don't realize that they're allowed to have separate plans, separate companies. And it's a very simple process. And one company does not interfere with the other. See, again, just little things like that. You have to make sure that what you're looking at, once you've done it for a few years, you get used to that. Very quickly, I'll tell you, the first 2 years I was in the business, 3 years, I didn't want to sign anybody that was on Medicaid because I was afraid I'd sign them to the wrong plan and screw them up financially. But then once you learn it, just like whatever portion of the business you do, once you learn it, you have confidence in it, you know what to look for. You know the questions to ask the client. I don't want to go too much longer. If we want to get into questions.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get into questions and answers. We're getting close to time. So I didn't know, and we're going to pull up the chat here. It looks like we have a question that says, I'm going to read it, it's kind of long. Felicia has a ward who is 70 years old. She is Part B, but Social Security told her she's not entitled to Part A. They won't explain why she's not entitled to Part A. In fact, the Social Security agent that Felicia spoke to became hostile and hung up. Does this make sense to you, Mitchell? And that she's not entitled to Part A? She's still trying to get the ward Part A.
You have to work 40 quarters, 10 years to get the Part A and Part B. You can buy it. You can pay for that, like if you just came to the country, but it's actually very expensive. I would call back and I would keep calling until I get, or I'd make an appointment with Social Security and go to the local office, because there's no reason why they shouldn't be telling you why you don't get Part A. I've never heard of someone not getting it and not being told why. I have people who didn't qualify for A or B because they didn't have enough work history. And again, because of, from the 50s and 60s when housewives didn't work, if the husband had it, then the wife was entitled to it. So the best thing I would be able to tell you is, because I'm not a Social Security expert again, is call up, talk to someone else, or make an appointment to go down. There's no reason, or talk to an elder attorney and ask them the question to see if they can help you find out.
Great, thank you. That's a good answer. We also have some more questions. Can you explain why the G supplement is the most comprehensive supplement?
Okay, I hope I didn't misconstrue. I think supplements are the most comprehensive, but why the G is because G covers everything. If you look at the list of all the supplements, you'll see, and they're cheaper, so you might want to save some money on the supplement, but there are 3 or 4 things that A doesn't cover. There's N is a good one, but it doesn't cover the excess, excess charge. Now, very bluntly, I haven't anybody call me up and say, Mitchell, I got hit with the excess charge. But the reason is because all my clients have the one that does pay for it. So that's why I consider it the most comprehensive. Again, because I'm not allowed to use the word best. I can't talk in superlatives. Like there's one company that has the largest, and they can prove it, the largest network, so I can say that. But I think the G supplement is, from a professional standpoint, is the most comprehensive plan there is, because it covers everything. And you can go to any doctor that takes Medicare.
Great. So I hope that answers that question. Linda wants to know, she says she has many issues with physicians who don't want to accept the Medicare Advantage plans. They state it's too much paperwork, specifically in Collier and Lee counties. Do you have any advice?
Okay. I actually work in every county in the state. I work with 167 facilities in those counties. And yes, there are a few that do not take Medicare. It's just like any other business. And I hope you don't mind me using a lot of examples. There were 2 hotels down by Universal that went bankrupt, which means they didn't know how to run a hotel. Then somebody bought it and now they're doing great. Well, there are doctors that can't do the Medicare Advantage plans because they don't make money from it. It's too much paperwork. The compliance for them also is quite a bit. But then there are some doctor offices now that are hundreds of offices in the state of Florida that dropped all their other clients and only take seniors because they know how to make money from Medicare Advantage plans. You have two choices, either to stick with basic Medicare, which I wouldn't recommend, or you have to find a different physician. And again, every county is going to be different, how they work with it. Hope that answers it for you.
Kelly wants to know, do you know of a plan that covers Eliquis 100%? I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, that is.
Off the top of your head?
No, no drug is covered basically 100%. The way it works is, and I'm sorry I didn't get into that. There are tiers. Most companies have 5 tiers. Some have 6. Tier 1 is usually called a preferred generic. Preferred meaning the insurance company has a deal with the pharmaceutical company and they get it cheaper. Tier 2 is other generics. Tier 3 are preferred brand. Tier 4 are not preferred brand, and Tier 5 are specialty drugs. So Eliquis, I believe, for some companies is a Tier 3. If it was a Tier 1 or Tier 2, a lot of companies are zero copay. So that's covering basically what you're asking, 100%. But and some tiers are 0 for Tier 1 and $5, $10, $15 for Tier 2. But Tier 3 is somewhere around $45. So you're going to pay the $45. And the insurance company is going to pay the rest. So it covers it, but there's always a copay. And that's a brand name. And then when the brand name turns into a generic, the companies will stop carrying the brand name and only offer the generic.
So that's how that works. And then Karen wants to know, how stable are these Advantage plans? Are they corporately owned?
They're all corporately owned. Each one of them specializes differently in counties. Like one company is very, very strong in Osceola County, but that same company might not be good for Volusia County. As I said, I'm appointed with 12 companies. There are 4 companies I haven't written in over 5 years, not because they're not any good, but because they don't have enough doctors, which means the people I talk to, when they give me their doctor's name, the doctors don't take those plans. Some of the companies are in the Fortune 500. So yeah, they are, and it's like, again, like any other business. One company just went out of business a few years ago. I think they were giving away too much stuff. But then the other companies just absorb it. And it changes. When a new company comes on, they don't have as many doctors in their network, and they build up slowly. I work with 3 or 4 of the majors that have enough doctors that my people never call me up and say they can't find a doctor.
Do you know what happened to the Supplement F plans?
They just dropped it. Again, I don't know if it was the government doing it or all, I guess it was the government because all the companies dropped them. There are no more Fs. You can get an F still if you turn 65 a long time ago, but you really don't want to do that anymore because since the pool of people is getting smaller, then the premiums are going to go higher faster. And the only difference between the F and the G is $226. So that's not too bad.
Do you happen to know if Advantage plans cover dental?
Okay, I guess I should have brought this up while during the talk, but I can answer it now. Most Advantage plans do have dental, but when I go over the plans, dental, vision, and hearing are not covered by Medicare. But all the plans have something for them. But I'm not a big fan of any dental plan anywhere, particularly in Medicare, because most established dentists will not accept any Advantage plan, no matter what company it is, dental plan. They are starting to get better to where a few of the companies are now allowing you to go to dentists and they'll just pay you or pay the dentist. Doesn't make a difference where they have a certain amount of money. But I think it's the least useful extra benefit. And while we're on extra benefits, same thing with the transportation benefit. It's a great benefit to have, but they're notoriously late. I've had people tell me they had to wait 3-4 hours for their ride. So you have to be cognizant of this, of things like that. So for the dental, yeah, they also cover it, but if you don't mind going to a clinic, and I have people who like clinics, then you have no problem. In fact, we just looked up, I'd say in Orange, Seminole County, there's got to be 20 clinics that take Advantage Plan dental.
Wow. And then Kathy asked, she said, in case she missed this, please explain high deductible G. She's told by clients that their agent does not mention this is the only full G plan. She's aware that the commission is lower. The F plan expired a few years ago, but if you were 65 prior and can go on Medicare, you can access H, D, and F. X stopped employer coverage, if that makes sense.
I knew I wouldn't have time to get into every single thing, so I didn't get into that. But I do, if I have someone interested in a supplement, I do go into the high deductible G because it's a great plan. But here's the way it works. Again, medically, it's exactly the same as the regular G. About commission, I don't care about commission because I'm going to get paid sooner or later, and then people like me and they send me new clients, so I'm going to get a commission sooner or later. It is a lower commission, but the way it works is this. This year it's a $2,400 deductible, but you save approximately $1,500 on the premium alone. That means if you're paying out of pocket $1,200 that year, you've saved $3,000. Now, Medicare pays the first 80% after you've paid $226. That's the government Part B deductible, which means if you go for a $2,000 MRI, you're not paying $2,000. You're only paying the 20% after you paid your deductible. But you still have to pay the bills. You have to do the billing. With a regular supplement, you do not have to do any billing. I have some people who do not want to bother with the billing. They don't want to bother with anything, so they want the regular supplement. I have people that are in chemotherapy. I can guarantee they're going to hit the deductible, so I recommend them to take the regular supplement. But if for people who have don't have too many things wrong with them, you can save $1,000 a year on the high deductible. But keep this in mind. When you have a high deductible, like I use one company for the high deductible because they have the lowest price. I have another company that I use for the regular supplement because they have the lowest price. Now, if after a few years you want to go from one to the other, they're going to underwrite you when you switch companies. So the one you pick is the one you're going to stay with. And I'm not sure if I should mention what I use, but if you want to call me up and ask me, I'll tell you what plan I have. I know all the plans in the state of Florida. I'll be happy to tell you what plan I have, knowing all the plans and what plans I recommend to people. Again, if it's affordable. I've only had 2 people quit supplements. They were husband and wife. They got divorced. They couldn't afford it. Nobody has ever quit a supplement. I've only had 1 person quit the high deductible. And I have a feeling somebody fast talk them into the fact that, oh, you can go get a free gym, you can get $50 back or $100 back on your rebate. You're not getting a Medicare to get a free gym membership. You can get one for $10. You're getting it for medical. So do not pick a plan that has just for the extras.
So I hope that explains that, Kathy. Lynn, I see your direct message about your Humana Gold plan. And since it's a direct message, I'm inclined to say you may want to call and have a conversation with Mitch. We'll make sure his number and all his contact information is available to you guys. You see this message right here, Mitch?
Yes, that's another thing. Again, it was a little bit to get into. The way it works with the prescription plans is there are 4 stages to the prescription plan. Stage 1 is deductible. There is no deductible with Advantage plans that I use, but there is a deductible when you buy the prescription plan. Let me see if I wrote down the exact numbers because I don't keep track of the exact numbers all the time. Stage 2 are the price you pay. That's the prices I quote people. Like I said, tier 1 is $0, tier 2 is $5. When you and the company combined have spent a particular amount of money, and I apologize, I don't know the exact amount in front of me. I usually do carry it. You have it here? Okay, we do have it here. I'm sorry, yes. This year it's $4,660. People don't realize when you get a generic, let's say it's only $10, the company might have paid $90. So that 100, their 90 and your 10, go towards that $4,660. When you've done that, you go into the coverage gap. and then you pay 25% for all your drugs. Some companies keep the zero copay for the tier 1, and some of them keep it for tier 2. To get out of the coverage gap, to get into catastrophic coverage, you alone have to spend $7,400. So it's a little convoluted how they do it, but it's simple to understand. To get into the gap, we'll use that example. You paid $10 for a drug that cost $100, so the insurance company paid $90. The $100 got you in the gap. To get out of the gap, only $10 goes towards getting you out. And then when you pay that $7,400, then you're in. You either pay the higher of either 5% or $4, and I think it's 15 cents for generics, or 5% and about $10 for brand names. Next year, I believe it's going to go to zero in that catastrophic coverage, but you still have to spend. It's going to be more than 7,000, I think, next year. I think it's going to be almost 8.
So Lynn, I don't want to really call out your private direct message, but I hope that kind of answers your question and gives more information to everybody about how the gap works and how Medicare covers prescription plans and stuff like that. Kathy said that a provider told her that you cannot pay cash to them to see them. You have to have a Medicare plan. These are providers that are not Medicare providers. Can you explain why?
No, I can't. I have doctors that will not accept cash. You've got to have some type of a plan. If you have no plan, you've got to have then basic Medicare. They do not want to take cash. I don't know why. Some of them do, but I do have some that don't. And it's up to the doctor. That has nothing to do with the insurance. It has nothing to do with anybody else but them.
And then to circle back, Kathy also says she may have missed the con of MMAs. If you're in a rehab for the past 20 days, you may be responsible for a daily copay, but original Medicare covers it if you have a supplement. Okay,
yes, the supplement pays for it. All the companies are pretty standard. For the first 20 days are zero for a rehab, if you go to rehab. Then after day 21 to 100, that's the most you can get, is up to 100 days. It can range anywhere from approximately $150 to $196 a day. But one company in particular, I think maybe 2 this next year, once you hit 46 days, it goes back to zero. 46 to 50 days, depending on the plan, it goes back to zero. So if you have basic Medicare and it covers it, that's fine. But what are you going to do about everything else after the rehab is over? You're going to have to switch back. And if you don't have the type of plan, if you're not in a facility where you're allowed to switch anytime you want, you're stuck on basic Medicare paying 20% for everything else. And again, if you have a large bill, if you have a catastrophic event, you're in for 20% of that catastrophic event. That's the problem of going back to basic Medicare. I think it's very dangerous just to have basic. Medicare is Social Security and Medicare are 2 separate entities, but they work the same way in the fact that Social Security wasn't meant to support you. You were supposed to save some money, have a pension, and then add your Social Security, and then you're going to have a nice retirement. Well, same with Medicare. Medicare covers you medically, but financially it doesn't cover you completely. You need something to help fill in. That's my belief. But I've had people, I've talked to people and I've counseled them that didn't know me, but I was able to tell them objectively, I only get paid if I sign you up, and I'm telling you, don't sign up. Because in your case, it's better for you to stay where you are.
It looks like Kate shared your contact information. So Mitchell's contact information is in the chat. It will also go out when we send out all the information and the CEs for the webinar. You will also receive Mitchell's information then. So if you guys want to reach out to him, please feel free.
And there is no obligation. I don't care if you're my client or not. I don't care if you're going to sign up or not. If you just have a question for somebody, just call me and I'll look up see if I can find an answer for you.
And then Elizabeth said, thanks for providing the information to contact you. Looks like Ron says Humana has a PPO DEN 634 attached to their Gold Plus HMO Medicare Advantage plan. There's a $2,000 annual coverage, and you can use the Gold plus spending account card $750 annually, all like a credit card for dental also came out in 2023.
Yeah, just check the PPO because I just looked at the new PPO for Humana. That's it's over, I think it's $100 something a month for a premium. So just make sure about that it doesn't have a premium. And Aetna also is starting to just give money for dentists. So that's helping also. And all the plans are giving debit cards. They're giving, especially if you have Medicaid, they're also giving you, you can use it for food, you can use it for over-the-counter. Every plan has over-the-counter product cards. Some range anywhere from $40 a quarter to $250 a quarter, depending upon what you've got. So yes, that spending account card now, every company has that. They all came out with it. No matter what's happening in the country, politically or financially, the plans have been getting a little better. Drugs are getting more expensive, but the plans have been adding on, getting better and better. So yeah, that's good for them.
Apparently, the AARP UHC plan F as an option. Darlene says I guess she misses the AARP UHC plan F as an option. Kathy Bowers just had a suggestion for a future topic. Thank you for that, Kathy. Do you feel the same? This is Christina Rabago asked, do you feel the same if the person has Medicaid? I don't know what that was in relation to.
Feel the same as what?
Yeah, Christina, maybe if you could expound, do we feel the same as what if the person has Medicaid? Kathy said it was an excellent topic and thank you. And everybody's really thinking, oh, Christina said Medicare plus Medicaid versus Medicare Advantage. So do you have an opinion about Medicare plus Medicaid versus the Advantage?
The Medicare, Medicaid dual plans are Advantage plans. I don't use the MMA plans. I don't do anything, have anything to do with them. I use Medicare, Medicaid dual plans because they have a few extras that the MMA things do not, like the some of the cards. But again, all the Medicare, Medicaid dual plans are Advantage plans.
So we hope that helps clear that up.
Mm-hmm.
Ron said his agent told him Humana is pushing for market share using dental.
That could be. They all add stuff on, just like any other company. They add stuff on to get you interested and get you to sign up with them. And Humana is one of my companies. They're a good company. I have people who love them. I have people who hate them. It's the same with every company. No matter, I don't care if you're using Publix and Walmart. You know, depends on how well you're treated. But be proactive and let them know what you want.
Great. That's great ending advice. It's 12:05, everybody. We hope you got a lot out of this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitchell.